Friday morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. So here we are. I'm just getting you tagged, my dear.
Nice. I'm so excited for today's topic.
Well, this is something that you obviously are fully down with. You do this on a regular, right? You have a weekly podcast for this, do you not?
Yes. I love budgeting. I've loved budgeting since I was like 12. I was the only person in my high school that I knew of that actually balanced their checkbook every month because my dad was a budgeter, and I am very much my dad's child. So I've always seen the benefit of budgeting. And I think not enough people are taught how to budget because we don't talk about finances in school because that's useful stuff. Why would we talk about it? So, and unfortunately, a lot of our parents don't know how to budget. They're not equipped for it because finances becomes this weird, like, finances aren't sexy. Let's not talk about it. But finances are sexy. So we need to talk about it. We need to talk about budgeting. Morning, Kristen.
Good morning, Kristen. Thank you for popping in.
Yeah. Budgeting becomes super important in business, not only from a make sure you don't dig yourself into a hole perspective, but from a tax perspective as well. So it's super, super important that we understand how to do this.
Yes. Good morning, Rickard, over on Instagram. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Good morning.
All right. So we've got a nice little list here of some things that you'll want to maybe take notes, folks.
And tools. I've got tools to make it easier, guys.
Oh, excellent. So we'll make sure that you have links for those once we get rolling here.
Yes.
All right. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get a clear picture of your finances. With solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, but most of us, let's be fair and honest, are solopreneurs. Me, myself, and I doing the job. And especially with online marketing, you got an irregular income, right? It's coming, it's going, and there's ebbs and flows, and it could be. You got to make sure that you're, managing your cash flow, making sure that the money's going where it needs to go, and you got to keep an eye on it because it's really easy to spend it because you got it.
Well, it is such a catch-22, right? Because you have to test to find out what works, to find out what's scalable. And the only way you find that out is by putting money into it. If you're not just doing organic, obviously, if you're just doing organic, then it's just you hitting the social medias hard, 18 hours a day. I don't know about y'all, but that is not my idea of a dream life. That is not what I do. And that's why I focus way more energy and ads and money into ads and things like that. Because my business, I've pretty much built it to be automated. And so as long as I can get people to the automation, then it goes from there. But if you're going to go that route, you have to understand that you're going to lose some. And a lot of people get into the mindset, which isn't necessarily a bad mindset, of, well, I'm going to dump a bunch of money into this right now because I'm going to make it back. And yeah, you probably will. But if you haven't tested yet, then dumping money into an untested ad or an untested funnel can be negative, because if it's not converting and you don't know that it's not converting because you haven't tested, you haven't tracked, then you are literally just flushing money down the toilet. So there's a weird balance of make sure you test it, make sure it's working, and then scale it, which is why they recommend whenever you do start to increase your ad budget, do it by about 10%. You might look at a funnel and be like, oh, this is definitely producing. I'm going to up my daily budget by $100. Slow your roll, like do it incrementally over a couple of days, because you don't want to start out scaling. And you might, as you start to scale, find out that it's actually not converting as well as you thought. It was just getting in front of the right people for that little bit. So testing is super important.
And the other thing, if you are going to go purely through your social medias and stuff like that, another place where you start putting out nickeling and diming yourself, where you're not paying attention, is the little subscriptions you have. Your subscription to Canva, your subscription to StreamYard or some other live streaming, or CapCut, or all these little things. Maybe you have a Notion subscription or something like that. So it's not that you don't need these tools, but maybe you need to look at where you're putting that money out, because small things add up too.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, I spend not a crap ton of money, but I spend about $50 to $60 a month easily just on some basic things that I need in order to run it. So I know that I have to make sure that I'm keeping track of that, because I have on occasion doubled that, tripled that, but then I pull it back. Right. And that's the same as, even if you're in an education thing where it's a recurring, right? You got to factor
Mhm.
into your, these little things that add up. So you got to make sure you know where your money is going at all times.
For sure. And you want to separate those too. Like, even if, as you start as a solopreneur, it's probably coming out of your personal, you still want to separate what is a personal, what is a business, even if it's coming from the same account. Because one, you're going to want to track what you've invested so you can pay yourself back later. And by pay yourself back later, I mean way later, which we'll get into a little bit later. There's a lot of laters in that sentence. Apologize, guys. But the other thing is, it's for tax purposes too. So when you become a solopreneur, regardless of what you're doing, you want to start an LLC, right? Because that's going to be the easiest way to separate stuff and not take such a hit. And it's going to be super, super important that you have those things separated out.
Yeah, and when you're doing an LLC, I just want to throw this out there. You don't have to go and spend like the $1,200 to $1,500 for a lawyer to set it up. You can literally go to your local community business area and they will get you set up. You can do it online for free. Like, you don't need somebody else to do it. I mean, yes, there are certain things that a lawyer can help you with if you're, somebody that can help you with that. But if you just want to get the name and everything secured and then factor that in later, you can do that as well. So again, like,
Yeah.
it's not, I think too many people feel like they have to have all the money in the world either to get started, or they just throw all the money at it thinking I need all this stuff, when really they could narrow it down a bit.
Yep. And that's where prioritizing your spending comes in handy, right? So utilize free autoresponders, utilize free funnel builders, utilize all these things. Maybe you've got 3 different accounts because each free one only lets you do one funnel. That's fine. Definitely look into free ways to do things. I wish I had done that in the beginning, honestly. Like, I got sold on a lot of software that I didn't need. I started with ClickFunnels and I very quickly realized I didn't want ClickFunnels. And then I spent another probably $70 keeping it, inactive, but keeping it for a while before I finally went ahead and canceled it. There's autoresponders that I paid for that were trash that I didn't need because I could have just used System.io and I didn't know that. So definitely, before you buy a software for your business, do a search and see if there's a free one that does what you want it to do.
Yeah, and I mean, reach out, because I actually have, I created just a short document with a ton of free tools and resources and education, because I know that there's like lots of people who are running on a low to no cost business, or just trying to get started before they dump in their money. Maybe they just want to see what's out there. Again, you know, you're going to eventually need to invest in your business. It's just a
Yeah.
matter. You have to.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you have to break the bank to do it, to get started, to dip your toe and see what it's all about.
Exactly. And then Kristen wants it. Well, you got it, girl.
No
And
problem.
then taxes. If you're in the United States, you probably hate taxes. If you're anywhere, you probably hate taxes. But I think US probably complains about it more than anybody.
Well, I think that's because the cost benefit ratio is a little whack.
That is true. That is very true. So, one of my biggest cheats when it comes to business taxes, other than having a professional handle them, is Found Bank. So, Found Bank is an online bank that is awesome. And one of the things that Found Bank does is has a tax saving program built into the account. So, anytime something comes in as income, it automatically puts aside tax money so that it separates it, so you're not having to separate it later, or you're not getting hit with a big tax bill at the end of the year if you made more than planned.
That's great. And I mean, a lot of people say they're going to do that, right? Oh yeah, I'm just going to have this savings account where I'm just going to take my tax money and put that. And so many people do not do that because saying you're gonna is not the same as doing. And you might have all the best intentions of the world, but we know what the highway to hell is paved with.
Yes. Yes. And that's one thing I love about Found is, like I said, they do it automatically. You do have to, I think you have to turn it on to do it automatically. But it does it automatically. And then the other thing that it will do, let's say that your business takes off and you did make more than planned and you had to send a massive, check to the government or whatever. The other thing it will do, it will populate estimated quarterly taxes for you, which if you've never dealt with estimated quarterly taxes, they are one of the best ways to not get screwed at the end of the year.
Oh,
Yeah, I've had an LLC since I was 16, and I paid estimated quarterly taxes up until the time I was 25 because it showed that I was making more than I was essentially. But also it protected me from having to pay the government at the end of the year. I didn't actually get a tax refund until I think 4 years ago was the first time I ever actually got a refund. And that was because I started this LLC or my real estate LLC and I had a massive loss the first year.
ow, how it hurts, ow. But another way that you can help manage your taxes is to understand your deductions. You're a home-based business, so to really look into what you can actually utilize as a deduction and make sure that you are keeping your receipts because they might ask some questions, right? But you've got your internet costs, your home office, so things like your electricity, the amount of space in your house, any kind of equipment that you're using specifically for your business. These are all things that you can, help reduce that tax burden. And yeah, so you might as well make sure that you are getting yourself educated on those things. And there's plenty of, the government will give you a list, and I'm sure you can find lists elsewhere as well. You just want to do a little bit of work. So.
And make sure you do the work because I have a friend who had a work from home business and he decided to claim his entire house for the entire year as a business expense. And yeah, his audit was not pretty. So you cannot claim your entire mortgage. You are not, your entire house is not for business purposes. So make sure you are doing the right percentages, the right square footage, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's pretty simple. If you have a room in your house that is your office, then that is the part. That's the percentage that you can write off. It's not the whole house, right?
Yeah.
So.
And of course, like you should get a separate credit card for all your expenses as well. But we understand that that's not always feasible. So again, that's where just keeping the two different budget lists, which you can do in Excel. Excel's great for budgeting. So keep those separate.
Yeah, and it's super easy. And Google has Google Sheets, which is basically Excel online. And it's free, so it's not like you actually have to have an Excel program to make it work.
It's true. I use Open Office, which
I was going to say Open Office is another one that has a spreadsheet option. So again, like if you're going with non-traditional stuff, there's definitely ways out there to utilize and make sure that you can still track and do the things you need to do.
Exactly. Emergency fund, you should have one for your personal. You should also have one for your business. Again, if you have that automatic tax savings thing, then it's not going to be as imperative that you do the emergency fund, but you should still go ahead and build one out just because you never know what's going to happen. And then the emergency fund will also protect you personally as well, because let's say you're building an online business in conjunction with your 9-to-5, and you're at that point where it's just about replacing the income and you want to quit your job and go all in. You still want to make sure you have a personal emergency fund buffer just in case, because maybe you were having 3 really good months and maybe that month you decide to quit is a terrible month. It happens, right? That's the thing with internet income. It fluctuates. We build a lot of things into place to try to make it kind of predictable. But at the end of the day, it does fluctuate like anything else. So,
well, yeah, even something as simple as platform changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, maybe TikTok was your main platform, and now we've got all this stuff going on about You know, they're trying to shut it down. Now they're saying they're going to, but I don't know if they actually will. But still, I mean, a lot of people flooding and then leaving because of the uncertainty, or, you know, or the program that you use, like say you do use ClickFunnels and then there's a massive jack in price, you know, or what you used to have access to, you no longer have access to because they've now moved that over to a different area in their pricing structure. These are all things that you want to have that emergency fund for, you know, or maybe something just gets completely shut down. Maybe they just shut it down.
Yeah, and that is the danger of using software from, white labeled software or third party software, anything like that. Is they might fold it. They might not be making the money they thought they were. They might not be budgeting properly, and then they can't afford it anymore. So there's lots of different things that could happen. So again, we talk about paying yourself back. So, when you get that first, like in the positive payday, like the first thing you're going to want to do is pay yourself back for any and all debt you've accumulated personally to make this business work. Do not do that. Take the profit and reinvest it in your business. Anything that goes into your business account should be used for business purposes. It's really easy to want us to pay ourselves back, but we really shouldn't be doing that, like I said, until we are 100% the system is proven and we are making money consistently. Because what'll happen is you'll pay yourself back and then you're gonna have to dump it right back in to your account anyway. So reinvest the profits into what is working. Or, maybe you've gotten enough profits over the year that you're like, okay, well, that's a pretty decent ad spend. Maybe I'll start with ads, or maybe I'll start dabbling there. And then avoid debt as much as possible, which is, again, when we talk about do your research, find free versions of things. It is very easy to plunge yourself into thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in debt investing in the wrong things.
Yeah. And that comes down to a lot of research. And it's easy to get swept up, whether it's an education program or it's a software that you're using and it's the next best, greatest thing. It's, you're, as solopreneurs, we're always looking for something that's going to take us to that next level. That's going to get us where we want to go. And it's easy to get caught up in the shiny object syndrome, which means then it's easy to get caught up in spending money that we don't necessarily have because we think it's going to get us where we want to go. So before you make those decisions, and yes, there are going to be people on those phones and on those messages and stuff like that who are going to try to get you to invest even when you don't have the money. Don't listen to them. And that's nothing against them. That's their sales tactic. They want you to buy. And they might 1000% believe that they have the best thing. And that's fantastic. But it might not be the best thing for you right now. If it's really something that you're interested in, budget for it, plan for it, and then invest in it. Don't put yourself and your family or whatever in some kind of debt to pay for something that may or may not be what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. If it feels at all icky or you're having any kind of, I don't know, like it's probably a good idea just not to. I had one high ticket closer because that is what their job is, right?
Yep.
Who was asking me like what all credit cards I had, what the max was on them, what my balance was on them, like all this stuff. And I was like, what in the heck? And what they do is they basically break it down into what the minimum payment would be. So if you're a person who doesn't like to carry a balance on a credit card, which I am, that was just off-putting to me because they were asking me like how much I paid for my mortgage and how much I made and all this other stuff. And I was like, none of this is your business.
Yeah.
So yeah, be careful. Like it's not, it's their job. They're not necessarily terrible people, but
no. And I mean, but the second they ask you or suggest that you should put it on your credit card, that means they're suggesting you should go into debt. Mm-hmm. So unless you are someone who can pay off that credit card, you're going to get points and somehow like travel points or cash back or something like that, and then it's worth it for you. But yeah, if it's just going to put you in debt, take a step back.
Yeah.
Start where you are, not where you want to be.
Exactly. Seek professional help as well. So this one always makes me laugh because I guess laugh isn't the right term, but we always complain about the rich evading taxes, right? at least here in the US. But the thing is, we have access to those same loopholes that the rich do. We just don't know how to use them. And that's where seeking professional help can really come in handy because, again, having that CPA or that tax professional who can be like, well, wait, like how many times did you make a trip that was business related? Okay, did you factor in that gas? Did you factor in those mileage? Oh, you didn't? Well, let's factor that up. Like, what do you mean you had a business lunch and you didn't? Like, where's that receipt? Or they can look at it the opposite way and be like, this is clearly not, like, you did not need a Lego Death Star for your business. I'm sorry, we're not claiming this, right?
You don't know.
Exactly. You don't know my life. Come on now. But they can also stop you from getting audited.
Yes, they can. And just like when investing in anything, do your research, right? Because I mean, we have my father-in-law has a tax accountant, and he's used him for years. He has made so many mistakes. I would have fired this man years ago, but he was, my father and I, and it's cost him. It costed it cost my father-in-law on more than one occasion. And I'm like, no, if you're going to pay for an accountant, then they need to do a better job. And he was a businessman, right? So his taxes were not simple. He had lots of things, and he was also very on top of things. But he still trusted. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So before you invest,
especially when you get into online income, right? Because it's a fairly new thing for tax professionals. And so, if you're using someone who's been an accountant for, let's say, 50 years, and, they might not understand, like, what do you mean YouTube is paying you? Or what do you mean this is Facebook income, right? There's things they might not understand, which means they may not understand the laws involved in it. And yeah, it's their job to go ahead and search them out, but that can delay your taxes. Be aware. My taxes, I'm used to it. They're going to come at the end of the year. Like we always file for extension. It just happens. But eventually I might switch accountants to somebody who's a little more up on the internet stuff, because the first year was kind of hard. Like I had to walk them through exactly, how I was making money. And a lot of it just didn't make sense because it was not something that he'd ever dealt with.
Yeah. And you can always reach out to other people who are maybe, a few steps that seem to be doing well, and ask them, ask your group, ask people around you, and see who's actually doing for, accounting for online entrepreneurs, because they will obviously have maybe a little bit more experience with that and understanding with that. But always, whether you're hiring an ad professional, your social media manager, or whatever, they're going to have to jive with you. They're going to have to get you the results that you need, and they're going to have to be within your budget. Yeah. Oh, that budget word again.
Budgets are sexy, people.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
Where you want to go, right? If you know where your money is, then you can make it go where you need it to go. If you don't know where it is and it's just coming in and going out, so much chaos and stress.
I know.
Stress is not sexy.
Stress is not sexy at all. No. If you want an ice bath to de-stress, check out my ice wellness gym. And then keep learning. This one is so critical. So when I first started Facebook ads and I wasn't making sales, I was convinced my ads sucked. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is terrible. I'm going to seek out help. And so I interviewed different people, started working with this guy who looked at my ads, and he was like, what are you talking about? Your percentages are amazing. What do you mean that's your cost in the US? This is crazy. Like, these are fantastic. And I was like, oh, so the offer is the problem. He's like, yeah, definitely. Like, let's build that differently. So then we made a bunch of changes to our offer and how we structured our program and everything, because what I thought was an ad problem was not an ad problem. It was I wasn't communicating myself clearly problem, which, dear Lord, that's the story of my life. So.
And it's funny when you are very good at explaining stuff. It's still not being received the way you're putting it out there.
Yeah, and it could be as simple as, one word. I lost you. Did you lose me? There we go. It could be as simple as one word on your landing page that just subconsciously is turning people off, and you change that one headline or that one word, and then suddenly everyone's all in. I mean, we had it. We were getting no engagement with our free challenge takers, and we're like, all right, well, I guess at the end of the month we'll just dissolve this Facebook group because you guys, we don't even know if you're doing the challenge. You guys aren't engaging, and then suddenly we're getting a ton of engagement. So. Not sure what actually triggered it, but we are at least getting it now. So that's exciting.
FOMO. It was
Right? Yeah,
FOMO. They were like all of a
exactly.
sudden going,
So,
ah. And the staying informed is the same thing. Like maybe there's a big change coming in the legals. You know, you're an online business, so the changes in the laws regulating online businesses, it keeps going and it's happening. There's always stuff. So there's new things you can't do and new things you can't say and whatnot. And it's up to you to stay informed about those things. And it's the same when Bitcoin first started, it was illegal.
mhm.
And they were sending people to jail for it. But once the bank started investing in it, suddenly it's not illegal anymore. But that those that it could go the other way, right? You're investing in something that suddenly is becoming illegal, and so you need to make sure that you're aware that those changes are happening, or maybe how you're promoting. The channels that you used to use for promoting are no longer viable for you, and if you don't stay abreast of the situation, then that's going to be a money loss for you.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're not going to have that. So make sure that you're staying informed on the changes, tax law changes, things like that. You don't have to be like an accountant, but anything that's directly going to affect your business, you're going to want to know.
Yeah. Well, with ads too, right? Like I know so many people who just starting out got their Facebook ad restricted. And once it's restricted on Facebook, it is really hard to get it back. Like really hard to
I
get
am.
back.
They did it to me because I have a new social security number, right? Because I'm new to the state. And because they couldn't figure it out and they didn't give me an opportunity to really go through it with them like Stripe did, I'm restricted and there's nothing I can do about it. There's no one I can reach. There's nothing I can do. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You know?
So don't
Really?
screw up. Don't get yourself.
And I didn't even do anything wrong. They're just like, you can't verify you are who you are. Uh-oh. Now I lost you. We're almost done here too. Hopefully she comes back. So before we go into the last little bit, oh, there she is. She's back.
It's so funny because I can always hear you talking and like I can see that I'm still down there, but I'm just like not up here. I'm like, all right, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just a fly on the wall. Literally.
So our last little step here is to review and adjust regularly because your budget's going to change, your income's going to change, the rules are going to change. Everything is constantly in a state of flux. So if you are not good with change, you probably shouldn't be in something like an online business because it will make you bonkers.
Oh yeah. And one thing I did gloss over is retirement, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
obviously we're building businesses because we don't want to work for somebody else for the rest of our life. Or if you're like me, you know that Social Security is going to be a freaking joke by the time I'm old enough to retire. So I am not relying on that. I don't have a 401k because quite honestly, I don't believe in them. I see the benefit if you're doing it correctly, if it's a Roth IRA or something like that. But I just don't trust banks with my money. So I have other ways set up for retirement. But
tax-free, there's tax-free savings accounts and stuff like that. Like you don't have to do the standard 401k, right?
yeah.
And
Or the standard investment account, things like that. I'm not saying don't invest. Like if you want to start playing the stocks and whatnot, start investing now. Acorn is a great way to start just investing your change. I do have a stock account. Honestly, I haven't looked at it in ages, which is probably a good thing. So I do have stocks, but I'm not banking on that for my retirement. So where does this all come into play? It goes back to paying yourself back. So once your business starts being profitable and you're reinvesting and you're getting to the point where you can pay yourself and still reinvest in your business and it's going up and whatnot. And you should be paying yourself. That's one of the other things I didn't really talk about. You should be paying yourself from your business account to your personal account and reporting it as such, because that keeps, again, your personal and your business clean instead of mixing them, right? Because everyone just goes like, oh, I'm an LLC, everything's a business expense. And it's just not true. A lot of more things become a business expense, yes. But again, it's still important you keep it separated. So pay yourself, salary, whatever it is, pay yourself from your business. Super important.
Yeah, you can do it however you want to do it. You can do it as a percentage. You can do it as an actual fixed number. It's however you want to work it. Just make sure that it's clear that it was an investment, or that you're paying yourself. Because those questions will come out, right? And so, like your tax savings, you can also, like for your retirement, if you've got a tax-free savings account, which is really simple, you can just move a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be a lot, depending on where you're starting out. If you're older like me, you might want to get some people. It's funny because some people who are older like me want to go super security. So they want something like an IRA, which is really, pretty steady. And then there's, people like me who are like, let's get crazy. I want something with a little bit more risk involved. Like I will take something that's stable, like a tax-free saving account, but I will also do something a little more risky because I'm older, right? So I need to invest a little bit more risky in some areas. That doesn't mean I'm going to go Bitcoin though.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and diversifying, right?
Yeah.
Like don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
You never want to do that. You don't want to do that even with there's a lot of things in like in your business. You don't want to put everything in one space. It's okay to have a nice big overarching thing, go high level, but I still utilize tools outside of that simply because if that goes, then I'm screwed. I actually do, just for me personally, is I back up. I'll create something and go high level, but I'll back it up in System IO. And while it's not active in System IO, it's still there so that I don't get screwed. Something goes away, I still have the backup somewhere safe and sound that I can just, because it's easy enough to create for me. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, and that's exactly it. Like start, pay yourself what you need to survive, and then maybe pay yourself an extra 1,000 that automatically goes into a savings account or whatever it needs to look like for you. But putting aside, it goes back to building that emergency fund too. So I know it sounds like we're splitting the money up all over the place, but that's kind of the point. You don't want everything in one basket. You want to be able to be like, okay, well, I need to pull from my emergency fund, but I can leave my retirement fund alone. Or you know what? And if you're building an online income, chances are you're going to be making money for the rest of your life anyway from that. But again, systems change, laws change. Like you never know what's going to happen. So, there might be a lot of people who are internet income millionaires right now who 5 years from now, 10 years from now, something crashes and that income stream is gone. And that's also why we say, of course, build multiple income streams, because if your YouTube is monetized and then your YouTube gets demonetized for something, now what, right? So having extra,
you put everything into Etsy.
Yeah.
That's a huge one. Etsy's a big one. People's accounts get gone like that. And all of a sudden they've got this massive income loss that they weren't expecting because they didn't plan for it. They didn't have their own shops set up already, and were coexisting with Etsy, and instead now it's gone. So that kind of stuff happens. So make sure you're backing it up, making sure you do have multiple income streams. Again, if you're an affiliate, you've got your main product, but then you also need other things. So maybe you sell digital products that also include your affiliate option. And then maybe you also have some other thing, physical products that, or softwares that you also include, so that you have more than just one thing. Because more than one thing is going to save you in times when you didn't expect it. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
wow.
That pretty much wraps it up.
Yes, absolutely, Kristen. And no one wants to think about it. I mean, I joked for years that my retirement plan was a cardboard box and cat food. So
Nice. See,
my
I'm the
daughter goes,
opposite, where I'm like, I want to retire now, and by retire, I just mean I don't want to work for anybody else.
yeah. So, Rose will be dropping some links of the couple of things that she talked about. I will be, if you want the low to no cost budget sheet, just let me know, and I will be happy to get that to you. And I think that's it for today. I will also drop the link for our channel in the comments. I will have to do it all over the place, I think, because my comments here don't post to certain destinations. So we'll start with this one.
Oh, sorry. Facebook's been doing this cute thing where it doesn't show me that it was tagged until after the fact.
Oh, that's super useful, isn't it?
Yeah. So.
Not useful at all is what we're saying. So.
Yeah. Last time I just I saved it directly to my theme, and then I saw the tag afterwards. I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't even bother trying to find it this time. And hopefully the tag goes through after we end this, and then I'll get this on my page. So if you're watching this live on my page, I'm sorry. Facebook's being stupid.
Yeah, well, stuck with me, man.
I love you.
And
although Instagram is bringing music to profiles, so hashtag MySpace.
That's kind of fun. That won't slow everything down forever.
It's only like 30-second bites, I think. But yeah, I laughed.
Gotcha. Wow, that's all right. So that's it for today. I think next week we decided we were going to talk about managing time. So time management tips, again, for our online marketers, our solopreneurs who are, trying to get everything done, be that the everything, because everything can be very exhausting.
Yeah, wearing 30 hats at the same time can be overwhelming, but there is a way to rotate them, I promise. I'm gonna show you.
Yeah, and I think that's what we'll discuss next week. So I want to thank everyone who joined us today. As always, if you have any questions or you want more information, you can reach out to either Rose or myself. We each have our own skill sets, and I can't help you, she will. And if she can't help you, I will. And if we can't help you, we'll find someone who can. If you enjoyed this, please drop a like, and also subscribe to our channel for more information, regular information, because, hey, you love us.
See you next week, guys. Enjoy your
All right,
Friday.
everybody have a great weekend. Bye.